I worked 2 jobs to pay off her student loans and fund her dream career. But when those late-night emails turned into hotel bookings, I handed her laptop to HR myself. Before watching the video, please tell us in the comments, which country are you watching from? My name is Nathan Blake and I am 36 years old. I believed love meant sacrifice, that supporting her dreams meant building something lasting together. But sometimes, the person you build up is the same one who destroys you. When Jenna and I got married, I thought I'd won life's lottery. She was smart, beautiful, ambitious, everything I had ever wanted. We met at a company seminar, both working in different departments of the same firm. I was steady and practical. She was driven and full of ideas. Together, we were unstoppable, at least in the beginning. I worked long hours, sometimes juggling 2 projects at once, so she could focus on climbing her corporate ladder. I never complained when she spent late nights at her desk or when her phone buzzed nonstop during dinner. I told myself it was part of success. Every great career had its cost, and if that cost was a little less time together, so be it. At first, she thanked me often. She'd hug me after a long day, whispering, "I couldn't do this without you." And I believed her. I wanted to believe her. She was my pride, my partner, my reason for working as hard as I did. But then the tone of our life began to change. She started to drift, emotionally and physically. She'd come home later, claim she was tired, and scroll through her laptop in bed. When I leaned in to kiss her, she'd turn slightly away, pretending not to notice. One evening, while we ate dinner, I asked, "When's your next vacation? You've been working nonstop." She looked up, eyes cold, and said, "You don't understand what it takes to succeed at my level." I smiled weakly, brushing it off, but her words stung. I wasn't her partner anymore. I was just her audience. Her new project required extra collaboration with a senior executive named Eric. She mentioned him casually at first, her mentor, but soon his name became part of every conversation. Eric said this. Eric taught me that. Every time she spoke about him, I felt myself fading a little more into the background. Still, I tried to be supportive. I told her I was proud. I bought her flowers the night she finished her presentation with him. She smiled, thanked me, and placed them in a vase next to her laptop, which buzzed a few seconds later. She laughed softly at whatever message appeared, then quickly closed the screen. That was the first night I truly felt something break. It wasn't anger. It wasn't even sadness. It was the beginning of realization. The quiet moment when you understand that the person you love might already belong to someone else. And while I didn't know the full truth yet, I could feel it coming. The late nights, the closed screens, the fading warmth. It was all leading somewhere dark. I just didn't know how dark it would get. It started small, like every betrayal does. Subtle changes that only someone deeply in love would notice. Jenna began guarding her phone like a soldier protecting classified information. She used to leave it lying around, face up, notifications blinking without worry. But now, it was always face down, always locked, and always near her hand. At first, I ignored it. I told myself she was just busy, that maybe her work required confidentiality. She worked in marketing, after all. High-end clients, private projects, NDA agreements. It made sense, until it didn't. One night, I woke up around midnight and noticed her missing from bed. I walked quietly down the hall and found her sitting in the living room, laptop open, screen glowing against her tired face. She was smiling, that soft, secret smile that used to belong to me. "Hey," I said gently, startling her. She closed the laptop quickly. "Oh, I was just catching up on emails," she said too fast. "Go back to sleep." I wanted to believe her, but something inside me shifted that night. Her voice sounded wrong, like someone reciting a line from a play. Over the next few weeks, her phone buzzed constantly. When I asked who it was, she'd laugh and say, "Just work stuff, babe. Don't be paranoid." That word, paranoid, cut deeper than she realized. Because when someone calls you paranoid, it's usually because they're hiding something. Then, one evening, she left her laptop charging on the couch while she took a shower. The screen flickered awake, and my eyes caught a glimpse of her inbox. One name repeated again and again at the top of her unread messages. Eric M., her mentor. My stomach dropped. I didn't open it. Not yet. I told myself I wouldn't stoop that low. But later that night, when she laughed softly at her screen again, I couldn't help wondering what joke she was sharing and who she was sharing it with. The next morning, she kissed me goodbye, her perfume lingering as she left for work. I sat in silence for nearly an hour, staring at the wall, wondering when we'd become strangers. That night, I made my decision. I installed a small keystroke tracker on our shared laptop. I wasn't proud of it. It felt wrong. But something about her late-night emails didn't sit right anymore. Love had turned into suspicion, and suspicion was about to turn into evidence. The following day, when she left for a business dinner, I checked the log. Dozens of messages, phrases that weren't professional. They were personal. You make work worth it. Last night was amazing. I can't stop thinking about you. My chest tightened, my breath caught. And in that moment, everything I'd built for her, every sacrifice, began to collapse quietly inside me. She wasn't just writing email. She was writing the story of our end. The night I saw those messages, something in me went numb. I didn't cry. I didn't shout. I just sat there, staring at the screen, trying to understand when my marriage had become a joke told behind my back. Jenna's laughter from down the hall echoed in my head. That same confident, careless laugh that now sounded like betrayal. I spent the next few days pretending. I smiled when she talked, nodded when she lied, and waited for the right moment. She thought I was distracted with work, but I was studying her patterns, the way she'd step out to take a call, the way her emails always came late at night. The more I watched, the more obvious it became. I wasn't living with my wife. I was living with a stranger who wore her face. One evening, she left her laptop open again, this time on the dining table. She was in the shower, humming softly, completely unaware that I'd been waiting for this chance. My hands trembled as I sat down and tried to open her inbox. Password protected, of course. I tried her birthday. Nothing. Our anniversary? Wrong. Then, almost as a joke, I typed Eric 2023. The screen unlocked. My heart stopped. Hundreds of emails stared back at me, all between her and him. At first, it was work-related. Meetings, schedules, updates. But then came the late-night messages, the ones that started with, "Still awake?" and ended with, "Wish you were here." I scrolled further, and my stomach twisted as the tone shifted completely. Pictures, flirty exchanges, plans for weekends that I thought she'd spent at conferences. I felt my throat tighten as I scrolled faster, searching for anything that would make it less real. But every line only made it worse. She wasn't being manipulated. She wasn't confused. She was happy. She was laughing, planning, lying, all in the same breath. I copied everything onto a flash drive. Every email, every photo, every timestamp. Then I closed the laptop and walked to the bathroom door. I listened to the sound of the running water and her voice singing off-key. For a second, I wanted to open the door and scream, to tell her I knew everything. But instead, I turned away. Because rage is loud, but revenge is quiet. I spent the rest of the night organizing the files, labeling folders, backing up evidence. Every click of the mouse was another piece of her mask falling away. By the time dawn broke, I wasn't the same man who went to bed the night before. The naive husband was gone. The quiet observer had taken his place. When Jenna came out of the bedroom the next morning, she smiled at me and said, "You look tired." I smiled back and said, "Just didn't sleep well." And she laughed, completely unaware that I already held the key to her downfall. What would you do if someone you loved betrayed you like this? Comment below. After that night, I learned how dangerous silence could be. Jenna thought she still had control, that her late nights and quick lies were invisible. But I had stopped being her husband in that moment. I had become her investigator. Every smile I gave her hid a calculation. Every word I spoke measured her next move. I began by tracking her habits. Her calendar showed meetings that didn't exist, trips that no one else at her company had heard about. I followed her digital trail like a detective tracing a crime scene. The emails were only the beginning. I checked the cloud backup linked to her work account and found folder after folder of messages she thought she had deleted. Screenshots, attachments, hotel receipts. The pieces were coming together. At first, I didn't know what to do with it all. I could have confronted her right then, but that would have given her power. The power to cry, to twist the truth, to play the victim. I wasn't going to give her that chance. Instead, I documented everything. I printed copies, time-stamped them, and stored them in a folder at work. I made a second flash drive that I hid it under the spare tire in my car. If she was going to burn me, I'd make sure her entire world went down with her. One night, she came home late again. I pretended to be asleep when she walked into the bedroom. Her perfume was different. Her laughter, faint, soft, satisfied, told me everything. She crawled into bed beside me, whispering, "Long day." I kept my breathing steady, eyes closed, heart pounding with the weight of what I knew. The next morning, I kissed her on the forehead before she left for work. "Good luck today," I said, and she smiled like nothing was wrong. But as soon as the doors shut behind her, I opened my laptop. That's when I decided I wasn't just going to expose her. I was going to make sure everyone she fooled saw who she really was. I reached out to her HR department under an anonymous email. I wrote, "You should review Jenna Blake's company laptop. There may be inappropriate activity with her supervisor." Then, I attached 2 emails, enough to start a fire, but not enough to trace back to me. That afternoon, she texted me, "Weird day. HR's doing random system checks. Probably nothing." I smiled to myself. It had begun. Over the next few days, I stayed calm, collected, careful. She kept lying, and I kept gathering. Every secret she tried to hide was already in my hands. She was building her own trap. I was just helping her finish it. I wasn't going to destroy her in anger. I was going to destroy her with truth, and let her own words be the weapon. I watched her from a distance. The weekend she said she'd travel for work. My heart pounded, but my feet stayed planted behind a parked car. The hotel lobby smelled of citrus and cleanliness, like some staged scene. She walked in smiling, hair perfect, hugging a man I did not know. His suit fit too well, his laugh loud like it owned the room. They moved together, as if the world belonged, only to their ease. I followed them to the elevator, pretending I didn't recognize the faces. The corridor carpet swallowed our footsteps as they disappeared into room 208. My breath was steady, clarity forming like glass, cooling into shape. I parked in shadow and watched the hotel door close behind them. I could have barged in, screamed, created a scene of raw truth. Instead, I drove home in silence and did what calm men do. I opened the folders I had hidden on an old flash drive. Her emails glowed on my laptop like a map of her betrayals. Photographs of them at dinners, hotel receipts, and coded messages lined up. Each timestamp matched the nights she told me she was working late. The evidence was tidy, damning, and painfully precise, like surgical truth. I felt no triumphant heat, only a cold, effective determination instead. By the time she returned, I had already copied every single archive. I uploaded file after file to multiple encrypted drives, double-checked timestamps. Her face, when she walked in, saw me sitting composed at the table. She kissed my cheek, expecting routine, and I returned a practiced smile. Her perfume still clung to the collar of her blouse, intoxicating and false. She asked about the trip, casual, as if nothing had broken between us. I asked nothing back, let the sound of the kettle fill the silence. Her laugh that night felt brittle, like glass rubbing against glass. I watched her move through the apartment, unaware her lies were cataloged. In the quiet, I labeled folders, emails, receipts, hotel confirmations, timestamps. Each label was a nail driven into the coffin of our easy life. I did not feel like a victor, only like a man reclaiming dignity. Her arrogance had been her undoing. Her carelessness made everything possible. When she asked why I was distant, I said only, "I'm tired." She rolled her eyes and told me work had been exhausting lately. That evening, she fell asleep on the couch with her phone glowing. I sat at the kitchen table and arranged my evidence like pieces falling. There was power in specific, in proof that could not be denied. I thought of confronting her then, but rage often hands control back. So instead, I planned every step like a surgeon planning an operation. I wrote down names, dates, details, and the quickest paths to truth. My notebook filled with coordinates of betrayal, neat handwriting staking my resolve. She continued to live as if nothing would ever interrupt her ease. But the night had changed me. Clarity had sharpened into a quiet weapon. The day I finally acted began like any other. Jenna was rushing around the apartment, packing her work bag, half distracted, half smiling. "Big day," she said, adjusting her blazer in the mirror. "Presentation with Eric. Wish me luck." Her words dripped with confidence, but underneath, I heard arrogance, the kind only built by someone who thought they were untouchable. I smiled back, calm and quiet. "Good luck," I said, my voice steady. Inside, my plan was already in motion. After she left, I sat in the living room and stared at her company laptop on the table, the same laptop she used to hide her late-night confessions. I opened it one last time, double-checking the evidence. The emails were all there, hundreds of them, filled with love notes disguised as work updates, attachments of photos, and private jokes written in company time. I copied the final folder onto a flash drive, labeling it simply, "For HR." When I arrived at her office, I walked straight to the reception desk. "I need to speak with the HR manager," I said, keeping my tone neutral. The receptionist, unaware of what was about to unfold, smiled politely and led me down the hall. My hands didn't shake, not anymore. I wasn't angry, I was done. The HR manager, a woman named Karen, greeted me with a cautious expression. "How can I help you, Mr. Blake?" she asked. I placed the laptop and flash drive on her desk. I believe you'll find something concerning in her company emails, I said. She raised an eyebrow. Can I ask what this is regarding? I met her gaze, calm and firm. Misconduct between an employee and her supervisor. Everything you need is right there. She hesitated, then inserted the flash drive. Her eyes widened as the files opened. Messages, photos, dates, receipts. The silence in the room grew heavier with each scroll. She looked up, stunned. This is a serious violation. I nodded. I thought you should know before the next company audit. Karen leaned back, speechless. We'll handle this internally, she said at last. As I turned to leave, I could already feel the air shifting. Within hours, Jenna's so-called secret would no longer belong to her. The company would see the truth she laughed about in private. That evening, she came home early, pale and shaking. They took my laptop, she whispered. They said they're investigating something. She looked terrified. The first time I'd ever seen fear in her eyes. I just nodded, keeping my face unreadable. Really? I said softly. That's strange. She searched my expression, maybe for guilt, maybe for mercy, but I gave her neither. I walked past her, leaving her to drown in the silence she once used to mock me. Because sometimes, revenge doesn't need shouting or violence. It only needs truth, delivered at the perfect time. If you were in my place, would you forgive or walk away? Tell me in comments. The call came 2 days later. Jenna's voice trembled through the phone, barely holding itself together. They fired me, she whispered. Nathan, they fired me. I stayed silent, letting her words hang between us like the truth she'd spent months avoiding. She took a shaky breath. They said someone reported me. They had everything. My emails, my photos, even the receipts. I said nothing. Just listened to the sound of her panic, the sound of her empire crumbling under the weight of her own lies. That night, she came home with eyes red from crying. She looked smaller, defeated. Her heels clicked softly against the floor, her shoulders heavy under the invisible weight of consequence. You knew, she said finally. Her voice wasn't angry. It was hollow. You did this. I looked up from the couch, calm as still water. I didn't do anything, I said evenly. You did. She stepped closer, her voice cracking. Do you have any idea what this means for me? My career, my reputation? I cut her off. Do you have any idea what it meant for me to wake up every night wondering who my wife was laughing with at midnight? My words came out sharp but quiet. You traded your marriage for an inbox full of lies, Jenna. That's not a mistake. That's a choice. Her face twisted, somewhere between shame and anger. He promised me things, she whispered. Promotions, opportunities. You thought wrong, I said flatly. And now you've lost everything chasing something that never existed. She sank onto the floor, sobbing softly. For a moment, I almost felt pity, almost. But then I remembered every time she called me paranoid, every night she laughed behind that glowing screen, every time I reached for her hand and she pulled away. Pity turned to peace. The next morning, I packed a small suitcase. When she woke up, I was standing by the door. Where are you going? She asked, her voice small, desperate. Somewhere quiet, I said. Somewhere I can remember who I was before you made me forget. She stood there, speechless, tears falling freely now. So that's it? You're just walking away? I nodded. You walked away first. I'm just catching up. As I closed the door behind me, I heard her sob again. A broken, defeated sound that used to control me, but not anymore. The hallway felt brighter, cleaner. The air tasted like freedom. I didn't look back, not once. Because when someone burns you to the ground, you don't rebuild in the same place. You start somewhere new, where the ashes can't reach you. And for the first time in years, I felt like I could finally breathe. Months passed. The silence that once haunted me had become my peace. I moved into a small apartment near the coast. Nothing fancy, just enough for one person and a clear conscience. The first night there, I slept like I hadn't in years. No phone buzzing at midnight. No lies waiting in the dark. Just quiet honesty. I heard about Jenna through a mutual coworker. Word spread fast in corporate circles. She wasn't just fired. She was blacklisted. Her boss, Eric, had been terminated too, and his wife filed for divorce soon after. The company had used my evidence to clean house. Jenna's name was the one everyone whispered when they talked about what not to do. When I thought about it, I didn't feel happy. Revenge, as sweet as it sounds, doesn't fill the emptiness betrayal leaves behind. It only clears the space for something new. And that's what I wanted, a clean slate. One afternoon, I got an email. No subject line, just her name in the sender box, Jenna Blake. I hovered over it for a long time before finally opening it. The message was short. I'm sorry, Nathan. I ruined everything. I don't expect forgiveness. I just hope you're happy now. I stared at the screen, waiting for emotion. Anger, sadness, closure. But nothing came, just stillness. I typed one line in reply, I am. Then I hit send and blocked her address. From that moment, she was part of another life, a story I'd finished reading, never to reopen. As time went on, I rebuilt myself slowly. I poured energy into my work, launched my own small consulting business, and made it thrive. My clients respected me, my reputation grew, and every success reminded me that peace was the best revenge of all. Sometimes, when I drove past her old office building, I'd think about that day, the flash drive, the HR meeting, the silence afterward. I didn't feel guilt. I didn't feel pride either. What I felt was balance. The universe has a way of returning what you give, and she got exactly what she put out: deceit, humiliation, and loss. One evening, standing by the water, I realized something important. I hadn't just exposed her. I'd rediscovered myself. I'd learned that silence can be more powerful than shouting, that walking away can hit harder than any fight. She laughed when I suspected her, mocked me for doubting her loyalty. But she wasn't laughing when the truth came to light. That was my final reckoning. Not revenge, but release. Because the best closure doesn't come from hurting them. It comes from healing yourself. This is how my wife betrayed me. Should I forgive or move on? Tell me in comments. If this story reminded you that truth always finds its way, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Your support keeps these stories alive for others who've been through the same.